All right, here we go. John Salley, welcome back.
Thank you very much, sir.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. It's been a few months.
I know. We had this conversation. It's supposed to be every 2 months.
Every 2 months. I think 3 months have passed. 3 months have passed.
3 months have passed, and I felt I was fiending.
Well, we've got your fix right here.
Good.
Let's get going. Well, number one, who's winning the NBA Finals? Who's going to the NBA Finals and who's winning? We always get your predictions. They're usually close.
Yeah.
You haven't been perfect yet, but they're usually in the ballpark.
I got the Phoenix Suns.
And?
Against Boston.
Okay. Boosie was here last night.
Boosie.
I saw you guys at the game together.
Yeah.
Sitting next to each other. Was that on purpose or just by accident?
By accident.
Wow.
I was invited to the game. And I said, yeah. Because, I go to a basketball game. And I go, they got seats. And they had seats. And I've never been in the audience since to watch a game from the audience.
Okay.
So I said, I can't do this. And I had already texted Dominique that I was coming, Dominique Wilkins.
Mm-hmm.
So I went around, I saw Dominique, I said, and then on the way back, I saw Boosie there. And I went and I sat next to him. And I said, I didn't even ask Vlad for your number. He ain't gonna give me your number anyway. He don't pass numbers over. Let me get your number. And then the one,
which isn't true, by the way.
I know,
which
but
isn't true, but whatever.
Vlad, you want people to know that you don't give away numbers. Keep that. That's a good one.
Yeah. Unless, of course, I get permission. But
right.
Go ahead.
And then the photographer took the picture and then said, I'm gonna send you this picture, good picture, you and Boosie.
Yeah.
And then my boy, if you ever watch TikTok, it called Atlanta Field of Dreams, Homes of Dreams or something like that. His name is Marcus. And he goes, hey guys, I saw him. He went to school with my wife too, college, Tuskegee with my wife. And then I just saw all these seats. And I met Trae Young's dad from Boosie. And I was like, so I told people I was with, come down there. And so I put 4 of us sat down, the other 3 stayed up.
Mm.
And I tried to watch an NBA game live. I saw Shaq.
Okay.
Shaq was coming from working out.
Mm-hmm.
I see Shaq, I walk up to him, I told him, I said, my cousin calls and says, okay, it's halftime. And then I'll turn on TNT to hear what they got to say sometime, if I have to know. And Shaq says, what do you think about today's game? I said, if I was playing with my game now, I'd be as big as you. He said, you would be, because no one can hit you. You can't hit anybody.
Mm.
Matter of fact, they don't even try to hit anybody, right? You try not to hit anybody. It was almost like what college used to be. So when I see Ja Morant going to the basket, yeah, he's dynamic. But I realized in my time, he wouldn't have been free to do that. It would have been one real foul that made him think about going to the lane. And it's not a flagrant. It was a big man foul.
Yeah.
You were allowed to foul like that inside the lane. And you're not taking somebody's legs out. But you're hitting, if he's coming in there that fast, you take that big body and throw against, the smaller body is going to hit the ground, right? Most of the time. But watching these guys just have free reign, shoot when you want. I saw a guy take a shot. He was 7-1 from 3. Not that he couldn't hit it, but I was surprised that he caught it, and the rest of everybody else, when he shot it, they just ran down and caught like, okay, it was a missed shot. The stares I would have gotten if I would have come down.
What are you doing way back there?
They would have looked at me like, hey.
Have you forgotten how tall you are?
The next time out, go get him. He's obviously on something. Like Chuck Isaiah and them would have been like, get out of there. What's wrong with you? What are you doing? We got plays. We practice. And their plays are the same plays as when I played. They're just above the foul line. And everybody, I listen to Charles, Shaq, and all these guys talk about the guys, and I listen to people on ESPN. There's one thing that I realize that they don't want to say. Guys in my era couldn't play in this era. Mm. Forget the fact that these guys couldn't play in our era. They didn't have the skill set a lot of these cats have. Most of these cats have a dribbling skill set that's equal to a small forward or second guard. Everybody shoots the long ball now. And I got a thank, according to Isaiah being right, I have to thank Mark Jackson for that. Because if Mark Jackson doesn't give the green light to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, they would never have been, they wouldn't be who they are today. They had to have a coach to say, if you feel it, shoot it.
So back to the question. Boosie was here yesterday. He said Lakers and Boston.
What did he say?
The finals, Lakers versus Boston.
It's going to be the Suns versus Boston.
You don't see the Lakers going to the finals.
The reason I say the Suns is because I believe in selling jerseys. It's Devin Booker, KD, and Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. I think that three going against the Boston three is a great matchup for television and for the league. I do. But I'm not going against the GOAT. The GOAT got 20 and 20 the other day. Guys need to shut their mouth.
Didn't he just hurt himself, though, in practice?
Yeah, well, that's just for us people who bet, just to throw us off. I don't believe anything he says. I just found out today that Kawhi had a torn meniscus, and he played through the first time and got up, but he couldn't play the last 3 games because he tore his meniscus. And his sister is going to prison, and Paul George is not playing. I mean, there's so much stress on this guy, and to see people going after him because they think he's wounded and he's not, and he won't answer, I think that's wrong. But I thought I put a lot on the Clippers. I'm just, injury happens.
Well, yeah. I mean, Stephen A. Smith said that Kawhi Leonard is the worst superstar to have on your team.
So Stephen A. Smith could say that because he know Kawhi Leonard would not answer back. But Kawhi Leonard is probably one of the best people to have on your team because he doesn't act like a superstar. He acts like a guy who wants to win. He doesn't come in there saying, these are all the things you have to give me. He literally works to get his done, and he plays within the team system. So he's the best superstar to have on your team.
Yeah, but I mean, what does he get paid? Like $40 million?
Yeah, but
and
that's
you've got to constantly
negotiation.
do load management with him the whole time. And you see what I'm saying? He's not really playing consistently all the way through. And
well,
it's a lot of money, to get that type of performance. $40 million.
You're not paying him the $40 million to get you the performance. You're paying him $40 million for what he's done. So what you're getting paid.
And what he's going to do is more important, though.
Well, he's being paid for what he's done. So he said, why do you feel you deserve, or why do we have to pay this guy this? And when you do the numbers, you say, this is it. But then, look, he tore ACL. The fact that he even came back is an amazing feat, right? To come back and then play up to the level he was playing is an amazing feat. Everybody is load managing because they believe in the analytics. And they don't care about the audience. They only care about wins and losses.
Right. I mean, what is going on in the NBA right now in terms of all the injuries? I just don't remember any other era where like so much of the team, or so much of just the league in general is just constantly injured. I mean, am I right? Does it seem like there's way more injuries now than before?
No.
Or were people just playing through the injuries before?
Well, the great joke would be, well, we had different drugs back then. That's the great joke.
Give them this. You
Give
don't
this
feel nothing.
and trade them. And, the difference is the athletes are more athletic
now
than they used to be. And the game was slower than it was. So now you have a faster game, higher jumpers, more athletic, and we're playing in high heel sneakers. Now, what I mean by that is our shoes are now like this. So when you look at your shoe, if you were to put something in your shoe is lifted at the heel and aims down. They used to play on flat sneakers, and they weren't they used to shoot set shots.
What's that?
Now, literally when you sit still and you just shoot the ball this way. Now guys are jumping 30 inches off the ground, elbow in this position with the L, letting it go from deep. And they're running faster. They're moving faster. So you're putting more stress on your ligaments and tendons than you would back in the day.
Yeah. And that must be a hard thing to swallow with your sister getting life in prison. I guess she killed an old woman in a casino or something of that sort. I mean, really, he had a lot of drama growing up in general. I mean, I talked to some people that grew up with him. There was like, I guess, some guy who was sort of financing his career early on. He went to prison, and there was just a lot of craziness going on.
Father got murdered.
And all that type of stuff. And, you know, to have your own sister get life in prison when you are worth, hundreds of millions at this point is just...
That shows you money isn't everything.
Money isn't everything.
It runs with life be, as they say, life be lifing. And while he's up there thinking the greatest thing in the world is about to happen and I got my legs back, I feel great, we're going to go play a game, a phone call, hey, your sister's in court today and she just got life in prison. Like you get hit with stress upon stress, which adds stress, a mental stress to the entire body. And then you're playing, he was bawling. And to know that he tore his meniscus and played through that. I had 2 torn meniscus and I was dragging my feet. You can't lift your leg.
Well, yeah. I mean, JJ Redick was on the show this morning with Stephen A. Smith, and he was like, look, I'm going to say this as nicely as possible, but it's clear that you've never played, you know, basketball at a high level to be making these types of statements. Like when these types of injuries occur, it's not like a sprained pinky where you just bounce right back from it. Like these are serious injuries that takes a long time to recover from. And to be able to play at that level is just, you can't just throw out these accusations like that.
No, and to say it, because he knows he's not going to have any, he knows he was going to get a headline. Mm-hmm. And to say that kind of stuff, and well, he's a Laker fan anyway. So to say that against Kawhi doesn't hurt him. He doesn't, you know, it's like him saying something against the Cowboys. Like he picks the right people to talk about that the targets are thrown at. But to say that he's the worst superstar, when I saw that, you know, it's Stephen A. That's Stephen A.'s way.
Yeah, that's what he does.
It doesn't mean it's right, but that's his way.
Kevin Durant say he has no respect for him. You heard that whole back and forth, right?
Yeah, I heard that. Well, I heard that. Yeah, you know, he's a friend of mine. He started on Best Damn with me, so I got respect for him because I know he knows a lot about sports. But when you have to be the shock jock and he realizes this is his lane, he stays to his lane. At least he's consistent.
Well, yeah. I mean, as kind of a side note, you know, talking about how his sister just got life in prison, on the way here, I actually got an alert that Pras, formerly of the Fugees, was found guilty on all 10 counts. He's facing 20 years.
20 years. Okay, so The headline I got from Vlad TV was, because, you know, I have the Vlad TV app, and I
as you should,
and I subscribe monthly to Vlad TV so I can get all these kind of alerts. It says that he was an informant for the FBI.
Okay, so here's the whole story. Okay, here's the whole story.
Tell me the story.
I'll tell you the story. I know Pras.
Turn these cameras around. No, go ahead.
I know Pras. I've known him for some years. I have done 2 interviews with him, one at our studio in New York, one at his apartment in Beverly Hills. He's also been to my house. And we've kept in contact. Cool guy, you know. He rolled up in his Phantom, you know, and he came to Calabasas. I got nothing negative to say about him whatsoever. You know, we talked about the whole thing of the donation to Obama during our interview. He was like, he didn't even know how I knew that, but, you know, it was public knowledge.
Right.
And so forth. So essentially what happened was there was this guy that was funneling, well, he had stolen billions of dollars from the Malaysian government. Billions. And he was essentially just funneling the money through Hollywood and everything else like that. This guy financed the Wolf of Wall Street movie.
Mm.
He gave Leonardo DiCaprio a Picasso for payment, which Leonardo had to give back.
Wow.
Yeah. I think he gave Kim Kardashian a Ferrari or something, and Paris Hilton.
Oh, yeah.
And essentially, according to the report, he was giving a bunch of money to Pras, for like the Obama thing. And then Pras was trying to get Trump to stop the extradition of this other Chinese guy and so forth. And he paid him millions of dollars for Pras to get a photo with Obama. A bunch of crazy shit was happening in that regard, right? So then when this guy got caught, this guy is now in hiding somewhere. He's actually, that other guy, the main guy is actually on trial, but no one could find him. So Pras is the only one that showed up to court. You see how bad this is already? You see how bad this is already, right?
Somebody was going to catch it.
Someone was going to catch it. And what's interesting, and I was reading this in the reports recently, me and Pras talked last year. And, I was basically like, yo, man, I'm hearing this shit. Are you cool? Like, are you facing any prison time? And he was like, no. Like, it's just a matter of, right now, it's just a negotiation about how much money they take. And he's trying to keep as much money as he can, and they're trying to take as much money as they can. And so he's like, oh, yeah, it's no, I'm good. It's just a matter of how much money I get to keep after all this. And I've read that as well, that he had an offer on the table, a plea deal, where he gave back most of the money, and there was no criminal charges. Pras turned down that plea deal, and when he did that, a superseding federal indictment came in, where suddenly he had all these criminal charges like bank fraud and being an unauthorized agent for the Chinese government and all this, money laundering and everything else like that. And he was facing 20 years. And just today he was found guilty in all 10 counts. He took the stand himself, which is kind of rare in a case like this. But he just tried to say that, I had no idea. And now to answer your question, I guess at one point when everything starts kind of coming down, Pras said that he went to the feds himself and basically said, hey, I'm going to cooperate against this guy because it seems like some of the stuff is not really matching up and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So he offered his own, his cooperation to the feds, probably knowing what's about to come down the line, showing like an act of good faith. It's not like Pras was a fed in the Fugees and busting rappers and everything else like that, because that's kind of what, what's his name?
Academics.
Well, no, this is what Kyrie said. Kyrie actually had a tweet. Let me actually pull this up. Kyrie tweeted just the other day, he said, a whole FBI informant was in the Fugees that long? Got me wondering how many more informants are in entertainment, media, politics, silently destroying revolutionary movements from the inside. No matter what, I gotta stay poised and aware of who I am around. Now I see why Miss Lauryn Hill and countless others had to retire or disappear from their craft without anyone understanding why. So all of the revolutionary elders and ancestors who saw the writing on the wall and got free, we need you now more than ever. So Kyrie's trying to make it look like,
well, he's not. If he read the same title I read,
yeah,
and the way it's presented, which we know, clout bait is one thing.
Yes.
To say that he's a federal informant when that's the title they put on Vlad, but to have him walk in the Fed saying he worked with us.
Yes.
Right? They didn't say in what capacity.
Yeah.
They didn't say just for you to try to help us find this guy who took money from Malaysia.
Yeah, it was like literally the guy took like what, $3 billion.
Oh,
it was, like I said, and I don't even know if that guy's still alive. $3 billion is an amount that people don't just overlook. He might be in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah, but if $3 million, you can
$3 billion.
$3 billion, you can make a ditch.
You can make your own ditch.
You can make a ditch. You can change your color. You can. He can
have an
make
entertainment system in your ditch.
He can be taller. He can get new eyes put in. I'm telling you, there's a lot he could get.
Have a whole new body. Yeah.
Yeah, he can become a whole new person.
The crazy part to me, though, is that it seemed like he could have just given the money back and walked away from it. He knows that money came from a fraudulent place.
But that's the crazy.
Everyone knew that. Like, I knew that. So
Okay,
he obviously knew that.
But think about talking about giving the money back. The money is in a place that the feds know where the money is. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't have been able. Think about this.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. You know, a lot of times you have money like that. It's all types of offshore bank accounts. And yeah, maybe they knew he had the money, but they couldn't get to it. And maybe the deal was, listen, give it back.
Can they get to it now with him 20 years in jail?
I don't know, but he's 20 years in jail. So they got something out of it.
I feel sorry for him. Bless up to him. But hey, the love of money is the root to all evil.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
And if you got a plea deal and they said, we got no criminal charges, we have, in order to do that, we have all this on you.
Yeah.
You remember what Little C said? Little C is like, how y'all gonna say I snitch when they told me everything?
Right. They had the phones tapped.
Right. He said, they told me everything that they had. This is all the stuff that they have. So I'm not telling them anything that they don't have.
Right.
That's not snitching.
Right.
So if somebody were to say, hey, you had to give the money, maybe he didn't have it to give back.
Maybe not.
But he should have given back
what he had.
Some of what he had, or figured it out. If you figured out where to put it, you can figure out how to put it back in the way you need it.
Yeah,
so Leonardo had to give back a Picasso.
Leonardo had to give the money back. He gave it all back. He cooperated. He took the stand against Pras, basically saying, I had no idea. I was just doing a movie. You know, not only did my lawyers vet this guy, but we brought in an outside legal firm to vet him, and everyone said he was okay. So we did the movie. Ended up being a hit movie. You know, one of Leonardo's best.
Right.
But ultimately, it was all financed with stolen money. Yeah, it's crazy. And man, listen, I get it. You're in a superstar group. You're in one of the greatest hip hop groups ever that goes diamond on their second album. But the talent is Lauryn Hill and Wyclef, right? Just to keep it 100. I think he would agree with that.
Well, I would say this.
Well, you wouldn't agree with that? You wouldn't agree with that?
I think Pras bought what was needed.
Yeah.
In that. I say the same thing about the Locks. They can say what they want about Styles P and Jada. Without the third, maybe the third wheel is the wheel that turns everything. It may not be the wheel with all the engine.
I understand that, but when you look at the solo careers of the other two members, it's head and shoulders. Like Lauryn Hill dropped what I consider the greatest female rap album of all time.
Correct.
Miseducation. There is not a single female rapper that I can name that had a better project than Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Correct.
Not Nicki, not Foxy, not Lotto, not Lil Kim, not MC Lyte, not anybody. She shit on every female rapper, period, with that project.
Mm.
And then Wyclef had an unbelievably, stoic career. Like, songs with Shakira that went, the theme to the World Cup,
I'm telling Pras did some
all types of Grammys, to all the Santana stuff, to all the solo albums, to, Maria, to, Gone Till November, to, everything. And look, Pras was sort of the third man, on that totem pole. And, Ghetto Superstar was a cool little song, but it wasn't on the level of the other two. And he looked like he was found a way to ball out like everyone else.
Yeah.
But that money wasn't his.
None of the money we have is ours.
I don't know about that.
Let me
money
say
in my
this.
bank account's mine. I've earned it. I pay my taxes.
I'm gonna say this about what I meant, because people are gonna see this. And when you're in a tricycle, the two wheels in the back are the unless you're on a tricycle where you're pedaling the front of the tricycle. But if you're in a tri-bike, the two wheels on the back have the motors to it. Mm-hmm. The wheel in the front steers it, make sure it stays straight on path. We didn't know how good takeoff was. I tell people this all the time. No one realized that takeoff was probably better than Offset and Quavo, right? Until he dropped his own solo album. And then when he's not around, you start realizing, oh, it's really his voice I'm hearing. So I just think when you're in a group that has three, it may always seem like one, but they can't survive. They can't balance without the three. So I
get it. Listen, right. I mean, did most people like Q-Tip better than Phife? Yes, but were people checking for Q-Tip solo stuff the way they were for Tribe Called Quest? No. Right. Some people may be better when they're solo because they don't have to share the stage too. In the case of Tribe, no.
Right.
But
you think Q-Tip is better than
Phife? Yeah, I think so. I think everyone thought Q-Tip was, Q-Tip was the favorite during that time. Phife made the group, made a Tribe Called Quest. And there is lots of songs that I'm very glad Phife is on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. The driving force is Q-Tip though.
Yeah, I think so. He was like the lead rapper of that, of that group. But when he went solo, I don't think people were really checking for him like that.
The Vibing thing was dope.
It was cool. I think he had his moments.
Right.
But it wasn't like Tribe. Tribe was like, it shifted the culture, I felt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, that almost started a new wave in hip hop that Kanye sort of carried on years later.
I wish we can have a hip hop show. I'm telling you, I know more about hip hop than anything about basketball, except how to play it.
Well, speaking of hip hop, me and Chuck D, we talk sometimes.
Yeah.
And Chuck says that our show, the one that me and you do, is his favorite sports show.
He told me that too. That's why I'm doing a sports show.
That's why you're doing it.
Thanks.
So what I did today was, before I came here, I said, Chuck, I'm about to do John Salley. Did you want to throw us, a question, make a video of it? He said, sure. So here we go. I haven't even listened to it yet.
Okay.
So you and I will hear this together for the first time.
Got it.
Yo, what's up? Chuck D right here. To my fellow bro, New Yorker, Brooklyn bro, John Salley, right? Listen, my question, really kind of statement question is, knowing that you're a Boston Celtic fan growing up, right? Every single one of those Celtics, it seems like, went into coaching or general managing and things like that after they played. It was like unprecedented until the Detroit Pistons diversified, not only going into coaching and GMing, but, ownership, league offices, protocols, Olympic teams, and even other leagues, So, the Detroit Piston championship teams of the late 80s actually personified what the Celtics did. My question is, do you see yourself into like a position with all these injuries going on right now, and John Salley had a career of not getting injured, right? Maybe being what they call a cannabis vegan administrator, administrating to maybe the medical teams to keep these players healthy, or if that doesn't work, just the head of NBA entertainment, because it could need to step up right about now. Chuck D, I'm out.
Great. Chuck D, I love him. One of the smartest human beings on the planet. So this is another thing. I found out at 27 years old that the food that I was considering to be fuel for my high-octane body was not high-octane fuel. I realized that having high cholesterol, pre-diabetic, fatty liver, bad attitude, anger problems, all of that came from the food I was eating. So I cleansed and cleaned out my gut, and took on a new way of eating. In doing that, you kind of have to wake up. That's another way of saying I became conscious of what I was doing to myself and the environment. Then I got into yoga. And when I started realizing in yoga that I couldn't squat, I couldn't balance on one leg, I couldn't stretch for longer than 2 seconds or 10 seconds. Once I was able to use my body the way my mind wanted it to, if I wanted to be in a stretch, I should do it. If I wanted to stand on one leg and balance my whole body, I had to learn how to do it. Once I did that, I learned how muscles work, how ligaments work, and then I strengthened it that way. Just doing a whole bunch of squats because you want your quads to look good like the guy on the TikTok, don't do that. Not if you're a basketball player. You don't want those muscles you want those muscles, but those muscles are supposed to be shock absorbers. So understanding how the body works is one thing. 2, the league doesn't care if you get hurt. There are 1 million behind you for your position.
Yeah.
They have a league called the G League, which is supposed to be to move guys up into. So when one soldier's down, another one takes a spot. So you have to look out for yourself. What I'm doing in health and wellness is one of the logos are I help people help themselves. And when I went to the NBA to mention that we need to be more heart healthy, they started a program called Heart Healthy. When the guys want to listen to it, we don't know. Are they going to go to the steakhouses or go to the strip joints to get chicken wings, which are really, really good chicken wings, obviously? It can cost you your career. If that's the stuff you want to put in your high-octane body because you want some form of normalcy, it's going to happen. And I'm telling you, these guys are getting hurt. They got to check their sneakers, got to check how they got taped. You have to check how they warmed up. And you have to see if their body can do what their mind is telling their body to do. And most of the time, it's not. When a guy twists his ankle, first thing they do is sit around and put ice on him, sit him down. First thing you do is cut off the tape and have a chiropractor put his ankle back in place. But then if you mention a chiropractor, they think you're talking about a quack. But then the smartest guys make sure that they have a massage therapist, a chiropractor that knows how to make sure his body stays level, a nutritionist and a chef that listens to the nutritionist, and somebody that can help you sleep and all the things you need to do to perform. If you don't have that team and you got people to go, man, this place is full of hoes, you got to get down here. that's what's about to happen. And I used to do this and people would tell you, I love to party. I love to hang out. That was my thing.
Yeah.
I did it in the summer. I did it when I didn't have to go to work.
Yeah. I mean, for example, LeBron, who spends $1 million in the offseason on his body, you see that he doesn't really get injured. You know,
this year.
Even at if you look at his career as a whole, his injuries are not on the level of compared to like a Derrick Rose.
Exactly.
It's not even close. But not everyone does that. For example, I just heard a story this morning about how when Kobe was about to join the league, he assumed that everyone had the work ethic of a Michael Jordan, that everyone would come in early, they would stay late, they would, they wouldn't go out and party, they'd work on plays on the weekend. And he got there and everyone treated the game like a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, damn, okay, well, I'm not going to treat the game like a 9 to 5. And you saw what happened. But is that pretty much accurate? It's
very accurate. And Kobe's body was breaking down a lot, right? Kareem made a statement about it. Like his body breaks down too much. This is the crazy thing. You mentioned Derrick Rose. Love D Rose, one of my favorite people.
He's always injuring himself.
But Derrick Rose was 19 years old and his food was McDonald's, Burger King, and Skittles. Like they talked about that. This is all he did is eat. You talk to D Rose now, D Rose, first thing he's talking about is the food he eats and how he stretches and but no one tells you that. They just say, oh my God, you're phenomenal. and they throw you out there. They forget that it's a human body. You can have the best computer in the world. Don't plug it into the energy source, and it won't reboot.
Yeah, and on April 3rd, the NBA announced they're no longer testing for marijuana.
So the smartest league, as I said to you before, is the NBA. The reason they had to wait to April 3rd is because there was so many other things at hand. The new play-in as opposed to the playoff. They added more teams. They're trying to figure out how to keep people engaged and moving. And to think about it, if, like I said to you on the show, if Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, I just mentioned 3 white superstars in the movie world, were also doing drugs, no one would say anything as long as they gave them their performance, right? Robert Downey Jr. had to like crash and come back.
Yeah.
But to have a rule against a drug that makes the guys not violent, not aggressive, sleep, and not go out, I would want that drug. I would want that stimulant to my players. That's cannabis.
Right.
And I said this on this show. But the biggest sponsors were alcohol, and the biggest push against it was China. So they had to appease China because whatever these guys are going to do, the Chinese are going to want to do, and China doesn't want marijuana. And then the liquor companies that are involved, the Budweisers, the Anheuser-Busch's, which is Bud Light, those guys don't want you guys doing cannabis because they have already lost 30% of their bottom line because cannabis has become legal in majority of these states.
Yeah, the U.S. announced that more people bought legal cannabis than chocolate last year.
That's amazing. And I just wish it showed up in the places that we need it, like in gun reform. And I wish it stopped having mass shootings and that kind of stuff. If everybody would just smoke some weed, chill out, and go home, would be good.
Well, to answer Chuck's question, do you plan on joining
the NBA? No.
No, not the NBA, not a particular team, nothing.
No, Isaiah just got into the Phoenix Suns to help out. I don't think the NBA wants him, but they can't stop him because he's smart and he's a great forecaster and he sees things. I don't know if teams would want to do that. Like, I wanted to get to Kevin Durant when he hurt his leg. And the reason I wanted to get him to hurt his leg, but he probably did, is the more massage, the more blood to that area, the more you lessen stress that's mental, the less stress you're going to have on your lower extremities. I had a stress fracture in my ankle since 1989. And then in 1991, they finally put a cast on my leg. But when I sit back and think about the stress, I had the big house. I was taking care of the bills of at least 7 people in my life. Oof. My cost of living was through the roof. My wife, at the time, my fiance wanted to get married, and every Wednesday I had to talk about the wedding. I had a bunch of stress that wind up showing up in my lower extremity. And when somebody says, hey, you need to alleviate all of that mental stress and your body could recuperate. As soon as I did that, as soon as I had to cut people off, I had to sell things, I had to literally I had to hurry up and get married so I wouldn't hear about it on Wednesdays. I got my stress lessened. That's when I think, when I kept telling you I was going to do a show, I decided to do the best sports show, period. And the reason I'm doing that, it's a gambling show mixed in with entertainment, mixed in with fun, mixed in with competition. I'd rather point out the fun parts of it. And joining a team or the league, you can't get guys to do what you. If we were a dictatorship, if I was in Poland, if I was in Serbia at the time, if I was in Croatia, you tell a guy in the Greek leagues, you tell a guy, hey, this is going to be your food. This is the time you wake up. This is what it's going to be. They do that because they want it so bad. In America, you're paying kids in high school $7 million. College NIL deal, $7 million. There's no reason to go to the pros. There's no bowl or a bucket of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Isaiah Thomas. He demanded a public apology from Michael Jordan over that whole asshole remark in The Last Dance.
Oh, okay.
You think he'll get one?
No. I couldn't say no fast enough. It was a smart thing to ask, because then it makes people then go back to look and see what it is. But the crazy thing is, Isaiah and Michael were hella cool. I got video. When they were doing events, they were hella cool. And then us beating them literally 2 times and coming back, Michael had to realize, I have to dislike this guy in order to beat him. I can't be cool with him. Mm. And it wasn't just Michael. Phil Jackson, which we will talk about, but Phil Jackson is the first interview calling us thugs and saying we play basketball. Yeah, he came in and said,
these guys, you guys thugs.
Thugs, they not good for the NBA. Their style of basketball shouldn't be allowed, even though he was, when he played for the Knicks, was put in to elbow people. But if he doesn't say that, then the NBA can't see it, and then the referees don't see it. Because you say, man, they're doing this, and now the referees have to look at the game different.
So you say he was dry snitching?
Well, yeah,
in a way.
He was reprogramming the thought of and he's a master manipulator.
But you guys embraced that. You guys started calling yourself the bad boys, and
because the NBA called. So in 1988,
who came up with the bad boys?
David Stern.
Really?
Yeah, I got a video of him saying, "I wish I would have never come up with the name." I came the name, and then they gave us our own. We lost to the Lakers in '88. That summer, they came out with a tape called The Bad Boys, and it was if we did win.
Huh.
Like they celebrated us being number 2. So the next year we win, but we already have the moniker put on top of us.
I just assumed that you guys came up with it yourselves, but no.
Oh. We're the Pistons.
Wow.
That's it. We're the Pistons.
Wow.
And for everybody, this is our say hello to everybody. And so if you ever see a Piston, if you ever see a bad boy and you go, oh, you with the bad boys, and you go like this, we'll do it back, because that means we're number 1.
Did you see how Charles Oakley and Isaiah were going at it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically Oakley called out Isaiah for continuing the whole Michael Jordan thing. And Oakley said, he came in your city and took your city. That's why you're really mad. He took over Chicago. Then Isaiah responded, he said, I remember us kicking your ass a lot. Someone please check my record versus any team he played on. Sit down, be humble.
Charles is Michaal's bodyguard.
Yeah, I know. We talk. I interviewed Charles. But remember, I've had my little
he punched me in my
Charles.
stomach. So I don't.
Yeah, he put his hand on my chest. Stopping me from entering the Jordan
very,
party. He's very aggressive.
My man Reggie Saunders from Jordan Brand put me and my man on the list, and you were walking in, and we were walking kind of behind you, and you turned around and you put your hand on my chest and said, "Hey man, don't play me like that." That was in New York. It was real cold outside.
Down, yeah. Oh no, could have.
So I have this giant hand on my chest right now. Like, all right, I ain't gonna play you like that. I wasn't actually trying to sneak in with you. I'm not a sneaking kind of guy. I've never stuck in a party. But
I try to always make things right. I'm a guy who make things right.
Very aggressive
guy.
Yes. I don't recommend pissing Charles off, because he had no problem in fighting.
He'll swing at you, yeah. Even today.
But the other thing Charles said is Isaiah wants Michael to be his friend, and Isaiah, he don't want to be your friend. And, he made a joke of that. Mm-hmm. But Isaiah is the right one in this situation. He did come in, well, let's get some truth. He did become the face of Chicago. And Isaiah wasn't the face of Chicago because he played for Detroit. That part is true. But we won. We pissed. Another reason is people in Chicago didn't like that Isaiah was winning against their Chicago Bulls, and he's from Chicago. But Charles has to realize, Isaiah, and I told you this on this show, I played with everybody, but there's nobody like this 6-foot kid from the south side of Chicago. There's nobody like it. I've watched him do miracles at 6 feet tall. When everybody else is 6'6", 6'7", referees on your side, the lead is on your side. You have to understand, we were not part of the script. We interrupted the script. And if you don't believe there's a script, we interrupted the script.
Right. Well, because Jordan was bigger than the sport.
Yes.
At the time.
Yes.
He was the Messiah, the Black Jesus.
Black Jesus.
All those names during that time. It was.
And they're not winning championships, and we're in the way, and we got Bill and B on the team,
right?
Who will say big F you to anybody.
Yeah.
So it was in the way. We had they had to dismantle us from the inside in order to beat us. If they leave us as we were, no one's beating us.
What do you think about the whole Draymond Green suspension for the chest stomp on Domantas Sabonis? I'm probably messing up his name. I apologize.
Yeah, Sabonis.
Sorry. I mean, Draymond has an interesting history with punching his own teammate, the whole Jordan Poole thing. Like, I mean,
yeah, it was unfortunate. It shouldn't have happened. That was couldn't pull it back. If that was a bad move. I'm telling you, he knows that was a bad move.
Yeah, I mean, a 3-game suspension right in the middle of
3-game suspension at the end of your career.
Oh, you think it's over for him?
End of your contract.
Oh, it's the end of his contract. You
right.
Think
so isn't he supposed to be? He can get the max. Isn't this the year? I mean, we talked about it. We talked about it last year.
Yeah.
When after he punched Poole was a bad move,
right?
Because he's in his contract year.
That's gonna cost a lot of dollars.
That punch already it made Poole better.
Yeah.
At least he can keep his left and right up now. But it made Poole prove that everybody can take a punch. And I'm still gonna ball out. But this last thing is hard when they go to negotiate with you and they go, we can't have you here doing this. And no other team is gonna come up and do it. I mean, they did it, just to give you an example on how collusion works and how the league works, is Emmitt Smith was a free agent and the number 1 running back in history of running backs with the most yards. And when he became a free agent, not one team offered him a deal. Because that's collusion. Not that they don't want to win, it's a league. And these are the owners of the league, and you're out in the field. You guys put that together if you like. And so the guys in the field can't get the other owners to join up and say, hey, you want your team to be better? We got a good runner, because the owners are together. So I feel sorry for him, because there's not a team that would say, we need the mentality of a Draymond Green, or which they all do. They all need that edge and they need that guy. But like I said, the league is better off. Hey, we're going to dinner after this? Yeah. I'm going to give you 40 tonight. I'm going to give you 30. I'm going to give you 40. You know, his mentality of everybody else is the enemy is few and far between.
I mean, speaking of 40, what do you think about the whole LeBron James, Dylan Brooks situation? Because Dylan said, when he dissed LeBron, he said, he's old. I don't respect no one until they give me 40.
Okay. Dylan messed it up for his team. Dylan, when I saw all the things.
They did lose, ultimately. They did lose.
He destroyed his ability for his team to win.
Huh.
He did. And the reason I say that is there's no reason to wake up a sleeping bear. There's no reason. They're already imploding. And talking on top of it and giving these guys a reason to like one another in the locker room, when obviously they were all thinking about going to Cancun early, he gave them more life than he needed to. And he made himself look bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, he hit LeBron below the belt.
LeBron got 20 and 20, and he got 7, and his teammates are mad that he was talking.
You know, I mean, it's interesting. You know, we were talking about Golden State. Did you hear what my man Gilbert Arenas said about Steph Curry?
What did he say?
He said, if you compare their careers, he's better than Steph Curry at 25, which is when his career ended.
Gilbert Arenas is correct.
At 25, he
Gilbert
was
Arenas
already
was the-
3-time All-Star, and you know,
Gilbert Arenas was the
Steph-
best player.
That's what I'm saying. He said the only other person that you could name at 25 with that level of achievement was like Allen Iverson. It's a very short list. So people praise Steph Curry, but Steph Curry didn't get into a swing until later. At 25, he was not Steph Curry yet.
Well, once again, he didn't have a coach like Mark Jackson who said, be who you can be. Be the best you can be. Let's go for it. I'm behind you. There's no other coach that would allow that. And the only reason Steve Kerr allows it is because Steve Kerr wanted to could shoot from that far and understood, yeah, if they allow me to shoot 26 times, I'm going to hit 6 of them. I'm going to hit 12. I'm going to hit 10 of them, right? So I'm going to have 30. If you let me shoot 26 3-pointers in 3 games, I'm going to do well. It's going to become common. And I'm a Steph Curry fan, so I don't want anybody to think I'm not. But to exactly what Gilbert Arenas said, I thought Gilbert Arenas was going to be the next huge star in the NBA. And the NBA did as well.
Yeah.
They did as well because they were giving him commercials, focusing.
Oh, he had a huge Adidas deal.
Yeah, I think the gun play in the locker room was the first target.
The gunplay in the locker room. It was the gunplay in the locker room.
It was gunplay in the locker room, and then him playing with MJ didn't allow him to flourish the way he should have.
Yeah, and then he became the highest paid player. Well, one of the highest paid players in the league when he wasn't even playing.
Yeah,
that contract he had was highway robbery.
Well, it was.
I mean, it was great. I'm happy for him, but I'm saying what he pulled off. The amount of money he got to not even play, to just sit there and watch games at home and eat popcorn. My God.
That's what I say.
And he's still rich to this day, by the way.
Very.
By the way. And he's a regular guest on Vlad TV.
Yes.
I love
Thank
the guy.
you, John Salley.
Thank you, John Salley.
Because I knew, I said, one,
he's a good
he's
fit.
one of the most intelligent people, not players, people.
Yep.
And then when I'm listening to him one day, and then I'm hearing a conversation with him, and then I get his number. I was like, dog, you got to meet Joe Dubois. This is when I thought he should have been a Piston. At that time, he was just coming out of it, and I didn't understand all the politics of, the league, not wanting him in places and him having to go to China. I didn't understand what was happening. But that's what I tell you. It's never what you're worth, it's what you negotiate. Because he negotiated himself into a position. There's a lot of guys who couldn't continue to play that don't do as well. He negotiated himself in a great position. So it's never how much you have, it's how much you negotiate. It's always that.
Well, I mean, you mentioned coaches.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson had a very interesting interview recently with Rick Rubin, I believe, where he said that he stopped watching NBA games after the whole BLM social messaging started to actually show up in the games themselves, where like people would have like justice on the back of their jerseys and stuff like that. And people were not happy with this. Jalen Rose actually said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Now, as someone who played for Phil Jackson on 2 different teams, who knows him better than anyone else who's probably talking about him right now, what is your take on that statement?
I was going to call Phil.
Oh, you have his number?
I was going to call Phil.
Okay.
But I don't want to be a Phil Jackson apologist. Okay. I was going to call him before we had this interview, because when you said Wednesday, I was like, I can't wait. we're forgetting because so much happens. But I have this weird way of remembering thing as a Taurus because I know how to hold grudges. I don't hold them as long as I used to. But they asked Scottie Pippen, was Phil Jackson racist? Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. It was last year, right?
Yeah, wasn't it based on this one game where he didn't put him in or something like that?
And then he said, are you saying Phil Jackson is racist? He said, I'm not saying he's not. That was Scottie.
Yeah, that was recently. Yeah.
His favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
Then I see what Jalen, I see what Champion says, and I listen and I sit back and I think about it. So BLM is liberal. It's democratic.
Mm-hmm.
It's liberal. They pushed it. They got to talking about it. And I think that's what he was talking about. I don't think he was talking about Black Lives Don't Matter. I think he was talking about how political it has become without people realizing it's a political statement as opposed to it being a statement developed and designed for a large group of Black folks. There was more white people, I think, and a lot of white people involved in BLM. I think it was a great thing because it brought awareness. And I think it's still bringing awareness.
Right.
But
until the founders started buying a bunch of houses for themselves.
Right.
But go on.
Until Candace started exposing them and Kanye. So what I mean, it was a big political thing. And I think that's where Phil was when he was saying, I stopped watching when they did this in the bubble. Another thing is the bubble proved that they don't need a live audience and they still can put forth. And if you saw the advertising going on, it looked like a pickleball game, all the advertising in the bubble. And they were able to control it, which was a better way of controlling it and all of that stuff going through. I don't think he was saying that Black people shouldn't have been able to speak because he wrote a book in the 70s called Maverick. He was the Maverick. He was the political one on the Knicks, along with Bill Bradley. And he was pushing politics then, not through the court, not on the basketball court, but in his regular life. So I think he understands that push and fight. But he is in his 70s. He was born in the 50s. The world has changed tremendously. And where most people, most Caucasians didn't have to say anything, it's just the way it is, they also didn't say anything to change the way it is. So as Dr. Jane would say, all these white people, how many people in here would want to change places with Black people and not one person raise their hand because they are complicit with the way things are now? Because they know it's wrong. So I think Phil saying that I think he wasn't saying I wasn't against it. I think he was saying that the NBA was trying to jump on to be cool and jump on maybe he shouldn't have said BLM. Maybe it should have been all the different social points they took on. Because I don't think he's a Republican. I don't think he doesn't think Black people deserve their lives matter. But I didn't call him because I don't want to speak for him. He's really good at speaking for himself. But I don't think he's a racist. But I do think he was born in a time when things were different. And I don't think he continues it. Phil literally quit the NBA and went to work on a reservation.
Really?
Yeah. And then he coached on the reservation. And in North Dakota or South Dakota, he's trying to help the people, the natives, is why everything based upon him is a pawn tribe way of thinking. He wasn't ever on the side of a Republican or a Democrat. He was always that guy for the underprivileged and what's the good word for it? Marginalized public. So I'm not going to speak for him. I don't think that of him. But when you go against Black Lives Matter, people are not thinking you're going against Black lives. You think against the program.
Against
that
black
is what-
people,
Against
in a
black
way,
people.
yeah,
I
right.
don't think that's what he meant. But I didn't talk to him, and I won't apologize for what he said. And he's really good at getting that point out. But we're going to call him and see if he come on your show.
That'd be great.
That'd be...
I would love it.
Oh, I would love it
I
too,
would love
because you would understand a whole lot more from Philly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but everybody else except for Scottie Pippen that's ever played for him wouldn't. I don't think they would even consider him being that way. But you know, a lot of people get old and the dementia kicks in, and then what they really want to say kicks out. I don't know.
Well, I mean, speaking of coaches, Ime Udoka is actually going to be the next head coach of the Houston Rockets.
You know what? I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say I'm happy for him.
Yeah, me too.
Because not saying he didn't deserve. Well, I'm not saying that. Let me get to the right thing. I'm a Nia Long fan. I'm a Nia Long friend.
Oh, you know her. Okay.
And I'm not happy
Your team
with
Nia.
what my friend Nia Long had to go through.
Yeah, I mean, she had to go through a lot of public ridicule, and her son had to deal with it, and so forth.
At the worst time. She got 2 movies coming out.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah. And, you know, she also said that the Celtics organization never reached out to her or anything else like that. I mean, listen, I actually brought this up to Boosie yesterday. You know, I broke the news to him. He said, oh, man, Houston's the wrong place for Ime to go. Man, there's way too many big asses down there. He needs to go to Utah or something. You know? If he wants to keep it in his pants, he got to go to I don't know, Arizona.
He don't have to keep it in his pants now. He ain't got no girl.
Well, you still have to keep it in your pants if you're talking about the wives.
Well, he don't have to worry.
The wives of upper management and owners and the such. Yes,
And he's
It
Nigerian.
wasn't so much that he was fucking. He could be fucking. It's, from what I understand, is who he was fucking that was the problem.
But that's hearsay.
That's hearsay.
And no one has literally come out and say this is the way it is.
Right. But I remember when I brought this up, for example, you know, I've had these type of conversations with like Gilbert Arenas, and I was like, you know, were you fucking around with other employees on teams he played? He goes, you know, cheerleaders. And I'm like, was that ever a problem? It's like, you're going to tell me that this $20 million player and this $20 an hour cheerleader, they're going to somehow equate the two? And they're going to care about what this $20 cheerleader like has to say? Like, no, like no one cared, especially during that era. Maybe in the Me Too era of 2023, it might be a bigger deal. But back then, no one cared if you slept with a cheerleader or, you know. Because I've talked to other NBA players. Certain teams, they don't give a shit. Other teams, it's a no-no. It all depends on that organization.
No, it's a no-no for who? The cheerleaders?
Well,
What are they going to do to us? I'm making $20 million. What are you going to do? No player has been fined because he's talking to a cheerleader.
okay, so that's just considered whatever.
Yes, that is not
Okay.
because you got they're hired. They're
contractors.
They're contractors.
They're not even employees.
No, they're not employees. So
Okay.
it's one of those
They
things
do that
where
on purpose? I wonder if that's an on purpose thing. Like,
They-
they got to be contractors because the players
it's
go
the
fuck them and we
focus.
can't.
It's, we
deal
don't
with
want you
lawsuit.
sleeping with a player because it's not a real thing. You think? Hold on. Let's just be honest here. You're paying her $200 a game. Come on. If I want to take her out to dinner, you really think she's going to say, oh, no, I want to save my $200? No. Fucking hell yeah. Let's go, Agent Zero.
If you could sleep with a cheerleader, you get the crowd. You understand? It's like it's the star player and the star cheerleader. They did movies about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Chad, had the star cheerleader.
Okay.
This is the other thing. He's Nigerian. It's a huge African community and culture in Houston.
Okay.
So it's good that he's going down there. They could use him because he obviously is brilliant. His team that he put together went from not winning to going
To go to
losing
the
in
finals. Yeah.
But that same team is back.
Yeah, without him.
With his boy,
Yeah.
who's coaching him. The environment and the culture of what he did on the basketball court is still there. So I'm glad that they didn't figure out a way to stop him from making a living. I think that was cruel. If you didn't want him there and he did things you didn't know, you should have fired him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a trade. So he still is property of the Boston Celtics, just like they did Doc Rivers when they did the trade from there to the Clippers.
Yeah.
So just understand, once again, I'm not saying anything, but the owners and the people who work on the field.
When you won your championships, did you ever go to the White House?
Yeah.
How many times?
Twice.
Twice.
I
So which teams?
The Pistons. Yeah.
And just the Pistons
Just the Pistons. I didn't go with the Bulls
or the Lakers?
or the Lakers.
Okay. So when you were invited to go to the White House after winning the NBA Finals with the Pistons, were the Bulls also invited?
No.
Really? Because it seems, according to the First Lady, that's just the way it is. That the losing team gets invited to go to the White House. Well, at least in the LSU situation.
She didn't know any better. See, this is what happens when you've been vice president or the third lady, whatever you want to call her.
Well, she's First Lady.
Was now she's first lady.
Yes.
But she was the vice
She used to
president.
be second lady.
She used to be second lady.
Yeah.
They wasn't invited to the White House. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if people don't realize that the
Hey, Joe, can we go? No.
the vice president
Obama
is not,
shut it down again.
That's the president's house. So what she didn't know any better. And, that mentality, bless your heart, just invite everybody. And they're from Iowa, right? Where were they from, Iowa?
I'm not sure.
Whatever team. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Iowa, yeah. Iowa and LSU, right.
Very important place when it comes to politics, the Iowa caucus. So all she saw was Iowa. You know what I'm saying? She didn't care who won or lost. It's going to help Joe and his numbers. That's all a politician thinks about. They don't think about anything but themselves.
Yeah.
They're supposed to think about their constituents and the people they work for. But time has proven that they don't.
Yeah. I've never heard of a losing team getting invited to the White House. I've just never heard of it. I've never heard of it. That's why I asked you. Maybe you knew something secretly that I didn't know.
No. When I heard it too. And they should have just let it die. They should have just let it be quiet because the first lady is never like part of the thing anyway.
Right.
It's always just, and I remember too, Bill and Beer was so happy to get there at that time.
Who was the president at the time?
I think it was Bush Senior.
George W. Bush?
Yeah.
Yeah.
George Bush Senior. He wasn't W.
George H.W. Bush.
Just
George
H.W.
H.W. Bush, yeah.
I think that's what it was. It was a blur too. I loved it. I started walking around. It was Reagan.
Oh, it was Reagan.
Was it?
What year?
1989. I know it very well. Yeah, it was Reagan because I met his son.
Ronald Reagan. George H.W. Bush was the vice president.
Vice
at
president.
the time.
And he wasn't there because he's not in the White House.
The vice president isn't invited.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not his house.
Right. It was
He's
Reagan.
got that shed in the back.
I went with Reagan.
The white shed.
And I'm looking around. I wanted to walk through. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to see the Oval Office. I wanted to go. And they were like, what are you doing? Hey. There's a room. You come in here, you bunch. We're going to say whatever. Nobody touch him. You get to talk to him and you're talking to him. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? Boom, boom, boom. They hold the ball. You smile. Click, click, click. Thank you. Your 15 minutes in the White House is up. Yeah.
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 Well, Angel Reese did the whole Tony Yayo can't see me dance.
Yeah.
And people were upset. In fact, Dave Putney, who is the founder of Barstool Sports, called her like disrespectful and stuff like that.
Let me tell you about him though. He likes the edge. And once again, when you don't get it your way, you can say whatever. But when John Cena was doing it and they all started doing it on top of it, everyone knows what it means. And when the team that you want to win doesn't win and the team that literally is imitating you does it back to you, people take offense to it.
Right. He called her a classless piece of shit.
Yeah. And this is funny. Last year in May, I did Barstool.
Okay.
They said, hey, he wants to talk to you. We had these conversations. I wanted to do a show, sports show. It's the first time.
Mhm.
He thought I needed more edge. And I said, He goes, yeah, we're thinking about it. We're going to do it. No, we're not going to do it. I need more like how Draymond is. It's just not my personality.
A Draymond show is on Barstool?
No, but that's what he was saying.
Got it.
Are you going to be able to go against? And the fact that he owns Barstool, and when he says that, it holds weight because he's the owner of a platform.
Right. Well, he sold it now.
Yeah, but everybody says it. Everybody that didn't like her said that. And they all, when your team doesn't win and the person, I was on her side.
Mhm.
You understand? I was a Piston. When they wanted the Bulls to win, when they wanted the Celtics to win, when they wanted Magic in them to keep winning, I was always the one, I was on the team that spoiled the party. And I loved it. And I think she is so underpaid. They're giving people millions of dollars in NIL deals and she's only in the 300, 400,000. She should be a multimillionaire because she has way more attraction. She knows how to work TikTok, Instagram. Like if I was a company that had to pay for something, I would throw all the money at her because she gets the eyeballs. So that's another thing. Old way of thinking is going to ruin a lot of companies. Bed Bath & Beyond is gone. They should have hired her. Maybe they could have got an extra $5 billion.
I know, right? Ja Morant.
Ja.
Since our last interview, well, first he had the altercation with a 17-year-old, which he allegedly pulled a gun on, but he claims the kid went and threatened him with a gun first. He managed to walk away from that. Only a few weeks later to be at a nightclub, intoxicated, and pulled out his own gun on social media.
Well, not in the club. He was
in the club. No, I saw the video.
He was doing a live in his house, in his room, and he showed the gun.
Oh, that was in his room?
Yeah, in his bedroom. He was listening to music, and he showed the gun. He shouldn't have done that. Then he's in a strip joint with less than 2%, less than 0.2% of the money he makes. And he helped some girl through college. And see, that's why I tell Chuck I should be a spin doctor instead.
Right. He supports single mothers. Got it.
He's
supporting a single mother. Right.
He went to a single mother foundation at this club, and
a single mother foundation dance.
And he is helping her through college. And I would sue. This is another thing. I would sue the strip joint because there's no way you should show me in the champagne room, ever. There should never be a video or a picture of me in your club if you don't show everybody else's picture.
Okay, listen. I looked it up again because I thought I'd read it differently than what you just said, but it said right now, this is a New York Post article. The NBA announced Wednesday the Grizzly Stars suspended 8 games for holding a firearm in an intoxicated state while visiting a Denver area nightclub. He was in the club when he pulled the gun out. It wasn't in his room. If it was in his room, he could have
said it was fake.
Hey, listen, I have a gun, in my home. Here's my gun. Yes, it's somewhat frowned upon, but pulling out a gun in public is what really got him.
And this is the deal. And then
if he was at home, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal.
And that if it was his gun, that means he brought his gun into the state of Denver, in the state of Colorado.
Yes.
That was another thing. This is also, and I want to tell, because Vlad, whether you know or not, 85, 90% of the NBA watches your show. And I want to say this to NBA players, young NBA players. Once you become an NBA player, you're no longer a part of the regular civilians. It's almost like being in the army. There's less NBA players in the world, right? Then there's 432, something like that. Don't hold me to the number. You have to realize when they say, man, you change. You have to change. You made it into this part of life. You're no longer doing what the civilians. So when guys get on get on social media, I know a girl and this guy DM'd her. The first thing she did is screenshot it because it was in vanish mode. And I said, maybe that he thinking that's the only way to date now. He's never going to meet you face to face, but he's looking at you through your Instagram, and you're somebody he might want to continue to see. So he shoots his shot. Well, the girl doesn't see it that way. She doesn't see it as a nice guy shooting a shot. You're an NBA star. You got this. I got something right here. I got to tell them all, you're not a regular folk anymore.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to tell them how good you are, how you go to church, how you did this with your mama. You are a lotto ticket, whether you like it or not. Like when I met my wife, I knew I was a lotto ticket. Right? She grew up in the middle of Detroit, but she's from a family that has a business that they're running. She just graduated college. She's 21, about to be 22 years old. Hell yeah, she's going to be excited that she met this guy who's famous, that has this and has it. Of course, I want my daughter to go for the guy with the most.
Right. Remember LaVar Ball? He had that one interview.
Yeah, he was correct.
He said, I told all three of my sons that by the time you get to the NBA, the only women you're going to meet is hoes. Don't think you're going to meet someone like your mama.
Yeah.
You're not going to find that after you join the league.
Because you put yourself in a position of, what is the word they use now? High-valued man.
Shout out to Kevin Samuels.
Shout out to R.I.P.
R.I.P. I interviewed him before he
K-Sam.
passed. Yeah.
But to put yourself, however you want to take what he says, you put yourself in a different situation. One of my friends still texts me from Detroit. I dated her for a little while, and she goes, "Man, I messed up with you. My dad said the biggest mistake you made in your life was letting," and I laughed. I was thinking, I wasn't thinking marriage and a partner when these other people who were trying to date me, or I was given the time of day to, were thinking that. And you have to take it into account too. I don't know if women are doing the same way. Back when I was coming up, you find you a good man to marry. So you're not running into that. So when they said you only mean hoes, he's never, so I told you what I thought about LaVar from the beginning. He's never wrong.
Right.
He's never wrong. His delivery people may not like it, but he's not wrong. This is when I knew. You know,
LiAngelo Ball is now having a baby with Nicki Madaris from Love and Hip Hop, who used to be with Molly Mall, who's in prison now for pimping and stuff like that. But yeah, she was on Love and Hip Hop. I've interviewed her before.
Really?
Yeah. You know, plastic surgery, all the whole nine. Pregnant.
Think about,
I'm not calling her a hoe.
No, we're not.
She was a very nice girl. When I met her, I interviewed her. Her mother was there. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying that the type, Nicki is very different than his mother. That's all I'm going to say. She's a very different type of woman.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
The women are different and men are different now because of the way we look at life. I say this, and I'm not talking against anybody, and I'm not even having to preface this. I want people to understand what I'm saying. In the 90s, you couldn't watch BET and not see a commercial from the United Negro College Fund.
This is true. Yeah.
Could not.
Yeah.
You also couldn't see, in the 70s, you couldn't get away from, join the armies, be the best you can be. But United Negro College Fund, pushing Black people to college.
Yeah.
Was the mentality. 2000s, no more pushing you to college. No more giving you advice on this is the routine to move. So the world and women have changed. Back in the day, still, women don't get paid supposedly to do the job. I'm saying allegedly because I don't know all the facts. I know some of the numbers. They don't get the same numbers men get when it comes to money. So still, the thought process of women and men has totally changed. Even changed to the point, Vlad, where we don't even think about, oh my God, that's going to be my wife and she's going to have my children. You literally are seeing people trying to live the life of everybody on Instagram as opposed to figuring out how to have the basic relationship.
True.
Life has changed.
Well, your friend, Larsa Pippen.
Larsa Pippen. God bless you.
She's done some interviews since we talked last time. She talked about her sex life with Scottie Pippen. Said that he would have sex with her 4 times a day for 23 years. Not quite sure why she put that out there. Seems like a strange type of tidbit to throw out into the world.
In her argument, what happened is they were talking on the after hour show, and she was like, "Yo, my guy had high sex drive," and that's what she was talking about. He had a high sex drive, and I was doing everything I could to make him not want to go anywhere else. Right? So the exaggeration, definitely an exaggeration, but the fact that she was saying for 23 years she was still having sex with Scotty is something. And if she has that kind of sex drive, she needs a younger man.
Well,
she needs a younger man, and I'm glad she got it.
Right. And the younger man is Marcus Jordan, son of Michael Jordan. She said she would change her last name if they got married.
I would too.
I wonder.
It can't be Larsa, Pippen, Jordan.
That's what I was thinking. You might as well just have all your belts on at the same time. You know what I'm saying? You know, when the fighters, when they win at the end, and they got all their belts on, you know, in the ring, you know, they're showing off like their WBC and the WBA, like all that. Yeah. Pippen Jordan. Who's next?
Pippen Jordan. This is,
Hey,
if she had a kid, she already proved that if you're a great pro, I can give you a son that can become a pro. So if they had it,
right, because their kid
the son
is
right.
Wait, but hold on. There's more to the story.
Oh,
Larsa Pippen's son now plays on the same team as her ex, Malik Beasley.
Oh yeah.
After the Russell Westbrook trade. Yo, come on. Now you gotta tell me this ain't messy.
Well,
how you gonna say this ain't messy? Come on.
This is
so messy.
The problem is the world is small. And smaller than we think. And I get it.
The world is small.
But like
that's the excuse. The world is small.
Well, it's not like not like she's going. This is another thing. It's not like she is looking through the apps and going, I'm going, oh, okay. Because while she was messing with Beasley, it was far away from her son. No one thinking that it was going to be a situation where they were going to be teammates, right? She was trying to live her life. But the deal is, he's an ex. Now she's with Marcus Jordan.
Yes.
I hope it lasts through all of the fluff that's happening.
The fluff. The fluff.
I use some crazy words. I hope it lasts through that because it could be a problem. But if he has to keep dealing with the fact that this is Scotty's ex-wife as opposed to his woman, that can become a problem.
I mean, look, I just feel bad for Scotty. I don't know him personally. I've never met him, but you know, from the shit with Future, you know, the dating, you know, your ex-wife's dating Future, and he's mentioning you in the songs, and now it's Marcus Jordan, and you and Michael
Scotty.
Jordan are not in the best of places right now after The Last Dance, and it's just like, man, do you really have to play in this playground? Exclusively.
It's the only playground.
Exclusively. This is not the only playground.
It is. It's
not.
It's the fishbowl she's in.
No, it's not. It's not. Data lawyer. You know what I'm saying? Data guy that owns a restaurant. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Marcus Jordan does own a restaurant. It's just connected to his father's sneaker company.
Exactly.
I think they look great. And I think,
hey man, listen, if they're happy, all the power to
and
him.
if she had sex for 23 years,
23
4
years.
times a man, he's getting some good sex.
Oh yeah, she can do some tricks. I'm sure
she's looking great.
Things could twirl around and go upside down.
He does not have to deal with a knucklehead that doesn't know how to please their man. You got exactly. If you want a woman that cares for you and knows how to please you, she proves she can do that for 23 years.
Yeah, that's
she did
that's
not have sex with
it.
anybody else until she was no longer having sex with him. Now, as I told people, when somebody was, and I'm going to say this, a friend of mine didn't like something that this girl had done she was staying in the house. She was staying with these cats. They all had rented a house, and this dude brought her in because she was down on her luck, and he gave her a room. And so she then met this dude and brought this dude in, and everybody was upset. You got to leave. You can't bring this guy in. And she goes, everyone in this house has brought a different girl in. It's not like I'm bringing a guy in from the club. I met this guy. I'm kicking it with him. He stayed there 2 nights with me. I wanted not to be alone. If she was a man, they wouldn't have said that to her.
Mm-hmm.
If she was a man and brought a girl in, they wouldn't have said, yo, man, you can't be bringing women over here. But because she was a woman, she couldn't bring another penis in the house. And that was unfair. And I said that. I said, dude, the way you're looking at it is you're looking at her like she's not human. And she's human. And you should be happy because just like sex makes you better and sleep better and relax, dick does the same for females.
Did you see the video of Carmelo Anthony arguing with a police officer in Baltimore?
Carmelo told us not to talk about him.
Yes, he did.
Carmelo said, don't talk about it. But no, I didn't
And
see
I
it.
said, or what?
Or what? Because Vlad's the kind you go to the club and be like, you in the bar, and he goes, I don't know that dude. And the first one to throw a punch is Vlad. No, I didn't. I saw him lighting up a good cigar and trying a new scotch.
There was a whole thing where he was arguing with some cop. And he was going off on him and everything else like that. And the question is, I mean, listen, it is what it is. Everyone gets rubbed the wrong way. You got asshole cops out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of my security in New York recently was an NYPD guy. And we got into a whole discussion about sort of like why certain cops act a certain type of way. You know, when I got arrested in New York, why I got slammed against my car by a bunch of cops for no good reason. But it is what it is. The question is, though, is Carmelo's NBA career over? What do you think?
I had to apologize to LeBron when they were 15 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that, because I thought Carmelo should have been a number 1 pick.
Huh.
And I said it on Best Damn Sports.
Carmelo's a beast. Okay? Like, Melo, I have nothing personally against you. You know, it's just that you're a public figure, and
Right.
when certain things spill into the public, we're going to talk about it, just like I talk about everyone else. But he's a beast, and I've met him before, and we've been cool with each other in person. It is
the
what
way
it is.
the NBA is now.
Yeah.
Everybody can play the 45. Everybody. And I mean that because Joker is not faster than any other big man. He's way better talented, but there's like a billion of them coming out. The big men are now becoming obsolete in the league unless you can shoot the 3 or pass like Joker in Denver. But the throw the ball down to the big guy and let him work, that's out of the NBA. Hand checking and bumping people as they come through, that's out of the NBA. So the best thing about having Carmelo Anthony on your squad is the rest he has put for his body. Like, I think Boogie Cousins, right?
Yeah.
The rest Boogie is putting on his body, that rest, those 2 years off, I did it. 3 years off changes everything. But he's 38 years old.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Did you hear what Mario Chambers, who used to play with LeBron on the Heat, said about him?
No.
He basically broke down why nobody fears LeBron.
Oh, yeah.
The way they would fear a Jordan, or they would fear a Kobe, or they would fear an Allen Iverson. You know what I'm saying? Would you agree or disagree?
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah. You have to fear LeBron because what he's talking about is also, from what it looked like outside and the way the media made it feel like you were afraid, they are. Because you know LeBron can get a triple-double. And you know LeBron is going to put pressure on everybody going to the rim. And LeBron's going to make your man look better because you have to help out and he's going to give it up. So I think you have to have a different game plan when you're playing against LeBron. And for the past 20 years, everybody has been adjusting their game plan to this guy's game. So whether you want to call it fear, like I'm afraid to be in the same gym, or he's going to embarrass me. They were afraid that Allen Iverson was going to embarrass you and give you the crossover. Michael Jordan was going to stick his tongue out and tell you shouldn't be in the game with him. But LeBron, Larry Bird was going to talk junk magic.
You talked about the trash talking that you got from Bird.
Yeah, Bird is.
Well, what's the worst thing Bird said to you?
Sal, you better ask for help. I was double teaming you. He said, y'all not double teaming me? I said, nah, just me and you. He said, Sal, you better ask for help. He said, I'm telling you, bro, you better ask for help.
And what happened next?
He scored like 3 times in a row. I got 2 quick fouls. Bring Dennis on this moment. And he was like, I told you, Sal, you better ask for help. And it wasn't like he was talking shit. When I hear young guys or guys talk about Larry Bird now, because it's something they want to talk about, it's the worst thing in the world. Not only did Larry Bird have to deal with the fact that he's playing against a whole bunch of black people, and he's as good when people are thinking he's the great white hope. His best friends are the black guys he grew up playing against. And then when he gets in the pros, they want to separate him, and the supremacists grab him and say, he's ours.
Yeah.
And he just loves playing basketball and wanting to win.
Yeah, I've never heard any racist stories about.
No, he was always, all his friends growing up.
Ever. Well, I mean, do you think it's because of like some of these other guys? Like, you look at, like, for example, like a Kevin Garnett, like these dudes are aggressive. They're trash talkers. They'll fight you. Whereas LeBron ain't like that.
No.
He'll just score 100 points on you and not say anything.
LeBron's whole thing too is, I'm not paying. Like, it's good to be the king. As they would say in History of the World Part 1, yes. Mel Brooks, good to be the king.
Good to be the king.
When somebody like this kid talking smack to him, he is going to look so bad in the record books. It doesn't behoove him to do this. It doesn't
behoove him.
It doesn't. As my boy would say, well, what did behoove me? But it doesn't. It doesn't help him to be Lance Stevenson. It didn't help Lance Stevenson. So
you should know, blowing in his ear.
You should know it doesn't work. It only makes him better. Like, do your research,
and
bro.
He won't respond.
No, do your research.
Do your research.
Do your research. It's
your Googles.
Huge mistake.
Yeah. Me and Shaq have been texting each other recently.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And he's been sending me some of his freestyles and everything else like that. You saw Shaq dunk on Yao Ming.
Yeah. No, I wasn't playing then.
No.
I wasn't playing when he did it, but I watched it. It was 2001.
Yeah.
When he did it. I was, let me tell you, I don't know if I told a story about Yao Ming, but one, I've only seen a player that big. I had Chuck Nevitt on my team who was 7'4", and I had Manute Bowe. Tall, skinny.
You're how tall again?
I'm 7 foot, 6'11", 3/4.
You're 7. This guy's 7'4".
7'4".
And Yao Ming is
7'6".
Yeah. The picture
and 350
of Shaq,
pounds.
Yeah. Shaq and Yao Ming next to each other looks so crazy.
Right, because he's taller than Shaq.
Exactly. Way taller, right?
Yeah, he's 7 inches taller.
Yeesh.
And he's, at that time, maybe 15 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine playing against Yao. Because I remember when you would go in on a big guy who was just 6'11".
But were you playing in the league when Yao?
Yao was not. Yao came in the league. He was in the league, but I never got to play.
You never got to play against him.
When I came back, my job was to sit there, and I had the best job in the NBA, bro.
Well, you're on
I
Lakers,
tell people my job on the Lakers. I've had great jobs. The Best Damn Sports Show was my best favorite job ever. But playing on the Lakers is number 2. And I know some people go, you're stupid because playing in the NBA is better. Playing on the Lakers was number 2. Because all I had to do,
and Shaq,
hang out with Shaq, Kobe, play against Shaq a couple of times in practice, shoot foul shots with him, stay in shape. And that was it. And then somebody's going to say, that's all they all should do. They should.
Well, how much game time would you have in a typical
Every
game?
5 games.
Every 5 games you'd
Every
play
5
for
games,
how long?
Phil go get taped. Because everything with Phil is calendared. Okay. So he knows when to give a guy a break, when not to give a guy a break, when to push him. That whole schedule is already jotted out. So he was like, every 5 games, I'm going to play you. I go, you got Travis over there. He goes, every 5 games.
Oh, you didn't want to play?
I'm going to play you. And I'm like, okay, all right. He goes, I don't know, 15. I said, 15 minutes? Hell yeah.
Okay. Well, You just got back from filming Bad Boys 4
Bad Boys 4
with Will Smith.
and Martin Lawrence.
Martin
It's
Lawrence.
a great script.
Okay.
I got to be in the table read, and I got to spend time with my friend Will Smith,
Yeah.
and I'm happy. I'm happy for Will.
Did he slap anyone on set or?
No,
No? Okay.
but you know, and people always tell me, like my family would tell you, I tell them, they go, what's going to happen? I said, the next time I get $50 million, I'm disappearing for 90 days. I tell you I'm going to be in India. And I said, but that's it. No one's coming to visit me. I said, if you don't believe me, I don't care who dies within that 90 days. That 90 days is my 90 days outside the matrix. I'll come back in after the 90 days. Well, after Will did his smack, Will got to travel. Will got to step outside of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And when he's back, he was like, he said, best rest he's ever gotten. Best time he got to sit back and look at things. We share books, and he gave me a great book called Awareness. And it has definitely changed my way of thinking too. When you start realizing everything that happens, it's like the butterfly effect. Everything it ripples down to something else. And it was him having to get out of it. I always looked at it when I watched the smack. It seemed like he didn't want to do it, but he is already committed because he was leaning back like he was fighting something.
Okay. All right.
But
if you say so.
But what I did is I felt really bad for Chris Rock.
Well, did you watch the stand-up special that Chris Rock did?
Yeah,
Since our
Chris
last
was
interview?
angry.
Oh, yeah. He called Will and Jada a bitch.
Right, he was angry.
Of course he was. Which is
and
understandable.
Understandable.
Because, okay, listen, it's one thing to be assaulted. It's another thing to be assaulted on international television on the biggest stage in the world that particular night. That particular night, he was on the biggest stage on the planet.
Right, and I think Chris handled it better than it. One. It wasn't the right thing to do, but Chris catching it back, saying whatever, keeping his hands where he were, and saying, "Wow, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me. This is the greatest night in television." Okay, and then reading it, and then when they come up, he's like, like, "All right, you got me. Didn't affect me."
Mm-hmm.
I think that was big. I think Will apologized, and I think it's never going to be totally fixed unless Chris can slap him back, and that's not going to happen. And so
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think Will would be like, hey, listen, let's get together. You can slap me back, and then we can hug it out afterwards.
Nope.
Nope. That's just not Will Smith, huh?
No, and not that it's not Will Smith. It's not needed. You're not going to change the first smack. It's like
Right, because it's not public. And
it's
whatever.
like killing somebody who killed somebody. You're not going to bring either
that first
soul
person
back.
back. Okay, I see what you're
So
saying.
it's done, and we have to move on from here. But I take my hat off to Chris Rock. Did an unbelievable job on composure and being humble. And I think the blessing is Will. People got to see that he was human.
I mean, look, Emancipation was a great movie.
And if he doesn't smack, he gets another award this year.
Well, he won't be able to show up
Right.
and accept it.
But no, they can't even nominate him because he's out of the Academy. But
Oh, he can't even be nominated.
no, but that's cool
Oh,
too.
okay.
Because now you can just make movies because you love to make movies.
Well, he already has one Oscar already.
Yeah.
And, you know.
It's like if Charles Barkley had one championship ring, nobody would say anything there. He can come behind the velvet rope.
Well, yeah, I mean, neither does Allen Iverson. And yet,
Yeah, I saw that list on the guys who don't have championship rings. That doesn't mean they're not winners. It just means they're not champions.
well, they weren't on the right team. They didn't have the right, this is not boxing.
Charles had two chances. Well, Charles had two really good chances. He did.
Yeah.
He had a great chance in Phoenix. He just ran into this guy named Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Did you hear what Iverson said about Jordan versus LeBron?
What did he say?
He said, this is Iverson's words. He said, LeBron, I think to me, is the best overall basketball player that we'll ever see. If you look in the dictionary and look at basketball player, there'll be a picture of LeBron. But for me, it's so different because Mike was everything to me. He gave me the vision. He made me want to play basketball. He's my everything. I wanted to actually be like him, like the commercial, be like Mike. I really wanted to be him. I'm still starstruck every time I see him. I'm still nervous every time because he's Mike to me. He's my guy. So there'll never be no one at top the list besides Mike. But LeBron is just everything you want to be in a basketball player. He's a total package. He's God's gift to the basketball world.
Allen Iverson, one of my favorite people. That I am going to steal that quote and say John Salley said it. Because in our time, I wanted to be, I'm glad he said it, Michael, along with everybody else, wanted to be Dr. J. So Michael worked on his game to incorporate as much Dr. J as he could, and then made himself Michael. And I fought him all the time. You know, I always said, man, the greatest player of all time. I said, man, I can't believe they're saying this about you. You can't even swim. You know, and I would...
Wait, Michael Jordan can't swim?
No, I can't swim. And
Wait, for real?
Yeah, for real. He had a bad situation. His best friend died drowning and all that. So water bottle.
Wouldn't that want to make you? No, oh, you're right. Well,
Yeah.
Jordan did not know how to swim. He shared that his kids were pretty good swimmers.
I watched him try to learn to swim. And I was like, he can't even swim. You know, that's the only thing he can't do.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? It's
I've taught my whole family how to swim. Michael,
Oh, yeah.
Michael, if you ever want to learn how to swim, come to my house in Calabasas. We'll go to my pool. I'll teach you how to swim in the afternoon.
Vlad.
I got you. Trust me.
I've
taught people how to swim.
My mother made me learn how to swim.
Bring a set of goggles. That's all I ask.
My mother
With
said,
the goggles, I'll teach you how to swim.
you're going to swim, ice skate, and read. Those are the things she said black people, they said don't do. She made sure I learned how to do it. I don't know if I can still ice skate. I think my brother can. But I damn sure can swim. And it was a lot, too. I was afraid. It was a pool that was 12 feet out in Long Island, out where Chuck was from, out in Manhasset. It was 12 feet deep, and it was the bluest of dark blue you can possibly look at. And I remember my cousin Rena and Tony were just jumping in, swimming. And then I just sat on the edge of one day, nobody was at the bar. I sat on the diving board and just fell off the diving board on purpose. Went down, touched the bottom, looked up, swam to top. From that point on, I was never afraid of water.
Well, there's a rumor that Jordan is selling his majority stake in the Hornets.
Yes.
The Hornets have never won an NBA final. They've never even been to the NBA finals. In fact, the closest they came was in 93, 98, 2001, 2002 when they lost the Eastern Conference semifinals. That's the closest they even got.
And that was with Grandmama and Alonzo Ball.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they had a big fight after that.
So since in over 20 years, they haven't even been to the semifinals. I mean, you know, and wasn't that the beef with like Barkley and Jordan, because Barkley kind of criticized some of the choices that Jordan was making in terms of the players that they got on the team. And
he said he was a bad owner.
Yeah. And then Jordan was basically like, go fuck yourself. And they never spoke in 10 years.
Yeah. And Charles said he shouldn't have done that.
Right. But when you look at the outcome of this team,
they brought Michael in thinking he was going to change the atmosphere.
Right. I mean, when you look at historically the worst teams in the NBA.
Right. The Clippers.
Would you say the
Hornets?
Would you say the Atlanta Hawks?
No, the Atlanta Hawks got
They've never been to an NBA final.
I know, and it's just tough.
I believe the last time they went to an NBA final was before they even came to Atlanta, when they were like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
The last time they been in the Eastern Conference Championship was 1986.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Knicks.
Yeah.
The
Knicks are good now, though.
Yeah, but they haven't won a championship since I was born, I believe, in 73.
So, yeah, the Knicks, you run into these teams that are bad teams in small markets, but they knew
Clippers not a small market.
Charlotte is a small market.
Yeah, but Clippers, I said, is not. You mentioned the Clippers. The Clippers is not a small market.
But the Clippers are still playing. The Clippers, if God, they just bad luck.
Is that what it is?
They got bad luck. And the deal is, the new arena will be open this up-and-coming season. Okay. Their luck will change.
All right. If you say so.
Yeah.
If you say so. Do you think Jordan's actually going to sell the team?
Yes. I think Jordan's going to sell the team. I think it doesn't help him anymore. And I think getting new blood and new ideas in there. And he's 62 years old, 61 years old. There's no
he's
reason
getting
to
up
stay. Yeah, there's no reason to keep stressing and having to go to North Carolina when you know you want to stay in Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah, I mean, his daughter said that if he was around for the name and likeness deals in college, that he would be worth trillions right now.
Right. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Michael Jordan, well,
Was making.
I heard the movie Air is good. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet either. It's only in theaters.
I heard, and I know because I was there around that time when all of this was happening. No one thought that you could even do this with an athlete, what they did with Michael Jordan. Because everything that happens with athletes now is designed after Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
Tiger was the Michael Jordan of golf.
Yeah,
Bo Jackson was the closest thing on wanting to be different than Michael, but they wind up saying all the focus was on how you make a player the staple.
Now listen, when I first got into investing, I looked for the Michael Jordan of finance, and it was Warren Buffett. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will just put that into the context of the statement, the Michael Jordan of, and then you just fill in the blank. I mean,
That's exactly what it is. That's how
is
big
he the
is.
most famous person on earth at this moment? You could say that.
No.
I mean, Lionel Messi is up there.
No, Messi might have moved to it because more of the world knows the World Cup.
Exactly, yeah.
But
well, I mean, just soccer is just a bigger sport than basketball.
yeah,
Worldwide. Not in America, worldwide.
but Michael has a sneaker that you're wearing. I'm wearing
it right now. Actually.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're wearing his sneaker and I got on the socks. Like I literally have on Jumpman socks. Like, that's how crazy.
No, I feel you.
Right.
I feel
No, the next thing, it was Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Jesus,
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, Michael Tyson.
Mike Tyson, yeah.
Like Jay-Z said, all the Michaels, those three Michaels. Kobe Bryant moved into it. The problem is the death pushed him into that position.
LeBron kind of moved into that category as well.
LeBron,
Yeah.
Bob Marley,
Tupac.
Shakur, John Lennon.
Yeah.
I said Bob Marley. The Dalai Lama.
Yeah. Who?
He's old, man.
No, he's a child molester. I've said it before. Me and Dio were talking about that. No, you cannot ask a little boy to suck your tongue and somehow brush it off as, a mistake. Nah. Listen, I bought his book back in the day, The Art of Happiness. So I've always been pro Dalai Lama. I went to the Free Tibet concert that the Beastie Boys were doing. I've always been like this is someone I've admired. But when I saw that video of the little boy, and then his apology was like, oh, sometimes he asks for hugs. Isn't that a damn hug? He asked him to suck his tongue. The hell? What kind of Catholic
You can't
priest
slip
that
up.
shit? No. And that's what he was doing in public. Imagine what he's been doing in private this whole time. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. You cannot do that to a little boy when you're an old ass man like that. The little boy's not even, related to you. Like, no.
Even if
I'm
he's
not buying
related, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, even if he's related, but at least related, you could, sometimes,
You could be like, in our family, we suck
fathers
tongues.
sometimes kiss their sons in the lips. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Listen, Kobe kissed his daughters in the lips.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not really my thing, but it's cool. I get it. You know what I mean? But not what Dalai Lama did. That shit was disgusting. That
When
was
my
just
daughters were
disgusting.
young, I would kiss them on the lips. Like, they would grab
cool.
my face.
Cool.
And I remember one time my daughter
That's
said,
your daughter.
"Mate, your lips are too juicy." And I laughed because she was like, "They're so big. Why are they so big?" And she would touch. But we don't do that. I hug and kiss on the side of the face. And it's not because I'm afraid of them. It's not because it will make me react any kind of way. I don't want them to ever view me in that way.
Right.
You don't, like, remember girls said, "Hey, daddy." I said, "Don't call me daddy. I have daughters."
Yeah. I've never liked the whole.
I only want to
I've
hear
never hold the daddy in the romantic sense.
I
I've always thought
only
that was
want to
weird.
hear it
Yes.
from them. I don't
Right.
want to hear it from you.
Exactly. The Freaknik documentary is about to come out.
Can't wait.
Have you actually attended Freaknik
Yes.
yourself?
I went to Freaknik. My brother, me, and Jerry, we in Atlanta. My brother Jerry could not believe this was happening.
Yes. It was a little before my time. I never went.
Yeah, it was a bad situation too. Like Dr. J's son got murdered at Freaknik.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like
No, I
I
didn't know
remember that one really got me. But it was, as Jermaine Dupri said, the best time. And I literally went thinking it was out because I wanted to see. And I said this so many times when I started seeing people talk about Corinne Steffens and what's your girl that I told you I love her on the show and tell her she was with the ball player, had the baby, and then left him.
who?
Brittany.
Oh, Brittany Renner.
Brittany Renner.
Yeah.
They talk about, and I sat there and said, who are these people talking? If you see what was happening at Freaknik, like girls went to Freaknik to be freaky.
Right.
It was the Black Spring Break.
Right. I mean, D.L. Hughley was just on the show, and he went, and I said, "What was it like?" He said, "It was a lot of sex."
And no
And a
one had a
lot
problem
of
with it.
sex.
It was the only time I felt black people didn't have to, where black people weren't afraid to show their sexuality. Every song was Luke's song. Right. Every song was a Luke song. Every girl was twerking. Every girl there was no condoms.
They just didn't exist.
The condom.
Not in Atlanta. It was a condom-free
A
zone.
condom. And I remember when they were pushing condoms too. Brothers were like, for what? Like, what's that going to do? And they were like, hey, you don't want to get the thing. And I was like, and to the point where hip hop, had to come out with a Tribe Called Quest, not Leaders of the New School, all of them had to come out, wear your Jimmy hat.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Right.
TLC had the condom. In
Everybody
the eye.
had to push wearing condom, but that wasn't it. It was Kool Moe Dee, go see the doctor, because no one was wearing condoms. That's the
Right.
only reason. So, and the girls were like, they were fine too, and they were from everywhere in the South.
Mm.
And if you can get your freak on wherever, you right back out. It was almost like Carnival up in Toronto. And I hate to drop line on Carnival, but Carnival in August in Toronto is
That's the new Freaknik?
closest thing to
closest?
Freaknik. Closest thing to Freaknik.
Yeah, I actually got booked, but then they canceled on me last minute. So I didn't during my DJ days.
Yeah?
I actually got booked for Carnival, but then I showed up and they didn't have the tickets or whatever. But yeah, so I missed it. But yeah, man, listen, there's a lot of aunties right now that are very scared of this documentary. You see those videos? That one was like,
The video-
but doesn't show
They worried
up
about
on
the
this."
documentary.
Yeah.
All you got to do is go to
five prominent women are trying to sue Hulu to try to stop this thing from coming
just in
out.
case.
Just in case.
Because you can go on YouTube, which you can go on YouTube and see the world before and after, and you can see some video. And
Yeah. No, listen, DL said, he started telling me stories, on camera. He said, oh yeah, there's this girl that he had this big crush on, and he showed up to Freaknik. She seen her with like two dudes at the same time. She like wiped her face like, oh, DL. He said, oh, never mind.
I'll never forget this. I saw a chick who I thought I had a crush on with two guys.
Did that crush just evaporate right
And I
then
was
and there?
like, wow. And this is true story. And she like, hey. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. It was called Freaknik.
Right.
And it was so bad, Atlanta said you can't come in no more with that bullshit.
It's too much.
You know how freaky shit gotta be for Atlanta to go, that's enough.
oh,
Never mind.
I always liked the freaks though. That was my wife.
Who doesn't like freaks?
I
Everyone
know,
likes
but
freaks.
my wife
Everyone
would have
likes-
said, how are you just friends with them? I go, because they're free. They're free. That's what they feel like doing.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Nothing against them. And I told you, I always treated women like humans.
Yeah.
It's just those people that think they shouldn't be human. They shouldn't have desires.
No, I mean, listen, I remember I interviewed Brother Marquise from the 2 Live crew. And, that's sort of intermixed in that whole era and everything else like that. And I remember he said on camera that he knew dudes that told him that they felt that they had a rape license. That they felt justified taking the pussy just of who they were and the environment that they're in, like with a straight face.
We got to Miami. It was sort of a lawless place where anything goes. And girls was there, and it was guys that was, really like extrally on some thug and some, some goon shit. And, in Miami, it was nothing, if you would hear guys say all the time, if I got rape license. That's what I heard in Miami. So, I used to see girls get abused and slapped for not participating.
It was kind of crazy back then. You know what I'm saying? This was before social media. Everyone had a camera. A lot of foul stuff got brushed under the table.
Listen, women have come a long way in this society. Let me get it right. There was guys that he said he had or felt. This is what they used to say, and they used to tell the girls, "Hey, you trying to get backstage? If you ain't fucking, you can't come in here." And girls be like, "I'm fucking." Even on a Dr. J record, when he was like, "Yo, are there motherfuckers, there's dudes in-" like some of his skits, when the girls would be like, "Yo, shit, is there somebody in there worthwhile? I want to get down." It was a two-way street.
I know. Yeah, it wasn't always that. Like, listen,
Wasn't always.
there's fun girls. Like, at the end of the day, there's girls just like there's male hoes, there's female hoes. Like it's the whole,
I say this to my daughters. I know what they have to go through, and some of the things my daughters have to go through that I have to hear is why I guess God just compounded. Remember, the humans stop treating, but guys used to treat them like they were second class, third class citizen.
Yeah.
And they were in here, so they knew what they wanted. She got drunk. There was tons. It was movies. There was movies that tell you it wasn't good to have sex with a girl while she was drunk. Animal House.
Yeah.
Right? And you shouldn't have sex with a teenager, even though they're lying to you and telling you that they're older. Like, these were in movies, but this was what happened. And I remember saying to my friend, I said, "Hey, you remember when those cars used to show up to the high school and the cute girl we called her Fast, would run out and jump in the car, and you knew it was a guy who was in his 20s or 30s, and you knew she was 16 or 17, she's bragging, she got money, she got her hair done." I said, "You remember that?" Yeah. I said, "It's not new." So when guys start acting like it was new, it's not. It was always like that. I'd be like, "Why is she messing with that older dude, man? He taking care of her. So you got a car to come pick her up?" And we feel bad about it.
Listen, women, once a woman dates a man with a car, they will no longer consider a man who takes the bus. That is just, I think they're biologically programmed.
You should get a t-shirt and say that.
Yo, like, they're biologically programmed to have an aversion to the man with the bus.
You remember the car? The car was all it was when we were growing up.
It doesn't have to be a Benz.
No.
It just has to be a car.
He got a car?
He got a car.
He got a
In
car.
high school, I had a car in high school.
Did you?
Yeah.
I stole
I
it.
worked, man.
I took my mother's car one day.
I worked since I was like 13. Yeah.
No,
I bought my own car.
I took my mom's car, and there was no parking in my project in the parking lot, and I was just tired, so I parked across the street. And my father woke me up. He said, "Man, I think somebody stole mama's car." And I looked, I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, they ain't in the parking lot." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he walked out. I put my stuff on. I ran down 8 flights. I crossed the street. I pulling box, and he said he just laughed. He was like, because he knew I took the car. So, and her car was whack. It was so bad. I think I got a picture.
Roll down the manual crank. I remember that era.
She had the burgundy inside, and we had remote control. We had the automatic, but the wheels everyone kept stealing the hubcaps. No matter where I went.
The hubcap stealing era.
Yeah, and it was just a beat down car. But I remember I pulled up, Michelle, I ain't gonna say your last name, couldn't say nothing because I pulled up in the car. She still didn't give me none though.
As someone who, has acted in multiple movies and is familiar with the world of Hollywood, when you see what's happening right now with Jonathan Majors, who I would say at the time was the hottest, like, newer actor in all of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, Michael B. Jordan definitely, had that run, but I feel like Jonathan Majors is on that new run.
Yeah.
He is
Going to be on
Kang
that Denzel level.
Yeah, he's Kang the Conqueror. He's got a bunch of Disney, Marvel movies already set up. He co-starred in Creed 3, I believe. And in one night, everything changed.
Because he called the cops.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess he was in a cab with his girlfriend, this blonde girl. And I guess she noticed that he was texting some other girl. And some sort of altercation happened. And the cops came in. She filed a report. I guess he was the one that called 911, but when they showed up, she had some marks on her or whatever else. But to make matters worse, now other women are coming forward and cooperating with the district attorney in New York. So now you have multiple abuse allegations. Moves very quickly.
Yeah. My mom's, God rest her soul, Maisie, was very particular about me being around a lot of women and in this life. She was, and I think because I go back over it, I married a great woman, but I got married too young, and I married her too young, I felt. But I did it to be safe. And one of the biggest things that can bring you down, we say this and they say it all the time, is drugs and women. And when you're in a situation where you have to lie to somebody to have them around you, you're going to run into a bad situation. So if he wasn't direct and honest with her, letting her know that he had other situations going on, if you felt you had to lie, that starts it. The altercation in the car, if she sees him texting other women and she brings it up, we weren't there. She could have had those bruises of him pushing her from not hitting him. But when you remember, they had all those different allegations on Tiger Woods as well. To come find out that 15 of those women never met Tiger. So believe a half of what you see and nothing of what you read.
Yeah. I mean, hold on a second. There was this great there's this great quote that Warren Sapp said in one of our interviews.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Tony Dungy told me 5 things that gets every athlete in major trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Being out after midnight.
Yep.
Going 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. Alcohol, drugs, and guns. Women you know too well or not well enough. Just basically all women.
But
women you know too well or not well enough.
Some very interesting things. You had 5 things that Tony Dungy told you to keep yourself out of the media.
Well, keep yourself off the USA Today, because back when we were, growing up, 7 million subscribers got the USA Today delivered to their front door. So that's the one place you didn't want to be on the cover of the USA Today. So that was his thing, because this was back in '96 when he said this to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And can you name those 5 things again?
Oh, easily. Anytime after midnight, plus 15 on the speedometer or the speed limit. If you're doing 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. Alcohol, drugs, guns, women you know too well or not well enough.
It gets you, and then say you get isolated. Now, they're trying to say that, he got a little sugar in his tank. Like, him and Michael B, they were, you are going.
Everyone gets accused of being gay. I remember someone DM'd me saying, I know Vlad's been with trans. I know for a fact. I'm like, really?
Really?
Really? Okay. This is new.
We got to talk about trans one day.
Yeah, hey man, show the
Since
footage.
you've been with him.
Show the footage. Yeah, since I've been with them. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought I'm making it now. Not only have I had gay rumors,
Not only you got gay
now I
rumors,
got trans rumors
got-
on top of it.
That's right.
All right, John Salley, always a pleasure.
See you in
Always a
2
pleasure.
months, man.
See you in 2 months.
Come on the John Salley Show.
I will.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.